Charlie McKenna with Lillie's Q, and today we're here to do pork ribs, actually the St. Louis cut rib, and we're gonna be smoking on the mill scale 94-gallon smoker here, kind of an offset cooker from Texas, mill scale. So what we got here is, we got the St. Louis cut pork rib, and you can tell by the St. Louis cut it's very even, nice and clean, very simple. So you can see that we have 3 racks here. We're gonna do 3 racks, and this cook, I'm actually gonna do it pretty simple and easy, right? We're gonna get a little slather on, we're gonna get a little rub on, then we're gonna just place it in the cooker, and we'll take it for, you know, anywhere between 3.5 and 4 hours roughly, based on the size of these. These are 3 pound and down, so that basically means that each rack of ribs roughly weighs right near 3 pounds and a little bit maybe under 3 pounds. As you can see with the pork here, we have beautiful pork that has nice intermuscular fat with the striations. So what we'll first do is, the first thing we'll do is we'll get these ready to go in the mill scale. So I like to start on the back first, and sometimes on the back what you have is, you'll have this, it's called silver skin or back skin. It's actually been taken off by my butcher already, but if you wanted to, you could pull it off. There is a little bit here you can see we can pull off with our fingers. You can grab a towel if it's a little slick, but sometimes I just get my fingers under there if there's a little residual left on, and I'll pull that off a little bit. You can't, some people do leave that on. I take it off because I like how the mouth feel and the feel of the rib comes out after you take that back skin off. When you buy these ribs, these are basically called peeled ribs, so that basically means that they took that skin off the back. So first thing I like to do is I like to get them ready to go in the smoker, and I like to put a slather on the meat, and basically what that means is we're putting a little something on the meat, 1 for flavor, 2 to help the rub adhere to the meat. All right, so you could use simple as water, you could use apple juice, you could use, you know, Guinness beer if you like that. My preference is, I like to, as I cook, I like to build flavors and layer flavors as I go. Obviously the first layer that we're gonna have is the pork rib itself, a nice pork from a small farm in Illinois. So the next thing I like to do is I take our gold sauce. A lot of people use French's mustard or regular mustard. I like to take our mustard-based sauce, which has other spices in it and other seasons in it, to kind of build that first layer of barbecue. So I'll open this gold sauce up. I'll put a little bit in the dish here. Mainly one thing to keep my hands as clean as possible, make it easy for myself. We'll set that to the side. Then I have this little silicone pastry brush. Now I don't like to do this too heavy because I don't want the rib to get cakey. So that's why I use just a little brush, get a little bit of slather on there. This is gonna help that rub adhere, like I said. It's also gonna help build another layer of flavor into your pork rib. Obviously coming from South Carolina, this sauce is my home state sauce, a mustard-based sauce, which is really great for doing this type of thing as well as eating with pork, mainly based off pork shoulder, but we use this for a little slather here, and you can I'll slather these 3 ribs. As I said, you can use basically anything you want. You could spritz with a little water first to build a little moisture on the meat, just to help that rub adhere. That way, I'm not a big fan of seasoning the ribs or anything ahead of time. I've found over years of cooking that seasoning them the night before or everything doesn't really do any type of flavor building. It just kind of makes the ribs kind of cakey, and because that rub gets wet and moisturized from sitting in the fridge overnight. So we'll brush that on just a little bit, spread it out. You can see it's very thin layer. The next thing I do for my St. Louis cut rib is I really like to do it like a 3-rub approach to it, which is basically our Q rub, Lillie's Q rub, which is a salt-based rub. That's gonna season the meat with the salt. It has a little bit of garlic and pepper in it. Mainly that first layer is for the salt, so that the salt can season the meat. Then I'll do a little bit of the Creole dirt this time. That's a kind of a barbecue rub that's based off Louisiana a little bit, has some celery seed in it, really adds a nice flavor profile. And then I'll go back and do our brisket pepper, which is a little pepper on top. So it's kind of a mixture of, you know, a little bit of Texas style and a little bit of Carolina style mixed. I love to have these shakers, pizza shakers basically is what I call them. It's easy because I like to be able to shake the rub onto the meat nice and even, and also get the rub exactly where I want it, so I don't waste as much throwing it around with my hands, and it's much more kind of scientific. So you see, the first thing I'll do is shake the Q rub on, and we'll let this go on nice and easy. Nothing too heavy, we're just kind of getting like seasoned like you would season a steak. Then we'll come back this way. with the Q-Rub. Now you can see that with the Q-Rub, it's gonna lay on that slather and stick. You won't lose a lot of rub if you kind of put a slather on first. It's also another opportunity, like I mentioned, to build another layer of flavor. So we'll sprinkle that on nice and neat. Now, I like to do the back side of the ribs first, and that's because once I flip these over to do the top side, that'll be the presentation side where I make sure the rub is nice and beautiful right before we put it in the smoker. So the next rub I like to go to is the Creole Dirt. We'll take this. This one's another very light coating. We don't want to cake on the rub too much because it'll get cakey and wet while you cook. We want it to kind of dry out and build that nice bark as you cook. So then we'll come back with it on this side. Now I like to season both sides of the ribs. I just don't season the top meat side. I like to season the bone side as well because there's another opportunity to build a little bit more flavor throughout the meat itself. So we'll throw this on. The nice Creole Dirt goes on. Now as this sticks, the Q-Rub, the salt rub is kind of pulling some moisture to the top, which will also help a rub stick. And the last one I do is our brisket pepper. This kind of like, as you layer these rubs, it's kind of building layers of flavor throughout the cook. Won't put a ton on this side of the pepper. We're just trying to get a nice looking black pepper on top for the flavor. Wind blowing a little bit, so you do it from back. So as we take this rub, you can see. Now, one thing I don't want to do is I don't want to rub this rub in, all right? I know it's called a rub, but for me, the rub has a lot of salt in it, and when you rub salt in it as a crystal, it starts to kind of cut up the meat itself. And for me, what happens is when that salt crystal, if you rub it in, puts a little striation in the meat, it allows more moisture to come out. Well, the idea of barbecue is we're trying to keep as much moisture in the meat as possible. So I don't like to rub it in. If anything, you could do a little pat, but you would not want to do any type of rubbing motion. With that slather and with the Q-Rub, the salt kind of bringing out some moisture, I think it's good enough to just kind of season with. I always have a little wet towel on my hand to kind of wipe off, but I'll take these and now flip them, and you can see not very much rub falls off. So we'll flip these back over. We're gonna do the presentation side now. Like I mentioned, the second side I like to do last because I like to make it really pretty. Again, we're gonna go back to the gold, Lillie's Q Gold as a slather, and we're gonna get a little layer on here, not too much. That's literally just helping build another layer of flavor, as well as helping the rub adhere to the meat, so that when we do move it to the smoker, not a lot of it falls off and you're not wasting that expensive rub that you purchased. So we'll continue to brush this on, sweeping motion. These St. Louis ribs are relatively easy cooks, so if you're a beginner cook and you're just kind of learning your smoker as well, it's something that you can do with relatively in a quick time frame, as well as it's not going to cost you a bank like a Wagyu brisket or a prime brisket or a prime rib, something that's a lot more expensive and have a lot more opportunity to kind of mess up. These are a little bit more forgiving than, let's say, your typical brisket or kind of prime rib type cook. So we'll go back to the Q-Rub again. Again, we'll just do a little sprinkle. This is mainly, like I said, a salt-based rub to season the meat. We always want to use salt on our meat. If I wasn't using Q-Rub, I would use just kosher salt, Diamond Crystal or Morton's, one of those, because I want to season the meat, and not all rubs have enough salt in to produce that nice seasoned flavor. So I'll continue to Q-Rub these ribs up, nice sprinkle. I do it from above so it kind of sprinkles nice and evenly as well. I can get it right where I want it and I don't lose a lot of rub on the table. That's another reason I also season on this like rack, is so that I can have for easy cleanup. All of us, I mean, I know we hate doing dishes, or at least I do. So we'll sprinkle this Creole Dirt kind of just very mildly on top again. Like I mentioned, not too heavy. You don't want it caked on. You want to see the brown crust form from the meat itself when it comes in the smoker. So as we season these, there we go. Nice light. And we'll do the last one, a little bit of pepper. Brisket pepper. I call it brisket pepper because it's a special size that I use for my brisket. Basically how pepper works is, and sizes of spices, it's like how it passes through a screen. And the larger the screen number, the lower the number, the larger the pepper dice, or larger the pepper size, or spice size in general. So I use that pepper specifically on my brisket a lot, so that's why we've called it brisket pepper. Finish up these other two. But I love the mixture of like the traditional barbecue / Creole rub with pepper and salt. It kind of gives it that sweet heat a little bit, but nothing too overpowering. And then it also allows the meat to shine through. When I'm cooking barbecue, I like to be able to taste all layers of flavor. And like I mentioned before, you have the layer of the pork itself, nice small produced pork from the middle of Illinois, as well as you kind of build it with the gold. Then you put the spices on and build that layer of flavor. And then the smoker itself is gonna add smoke and flavor to the meat as well. So we're kind of building those layers of flavor throughout the cook and throughout the process. So we've got these St. Louis style pork ribs all seasoned up. Now we're gonna go to place them on the mill scale. So as you can see, I have the cooker right about 250 degrees. All right. I like to cook pork ribs somewhere between 250 and 275, just kind of holding that thing. Also, if you looked at the smokestack, you would see a nice clean fire. We got no clear white kind of bluish smoke coming out. And we want that to you want to make sure that your fire is nice and clean so that you don't get any unnatural taste on the meat itself. But one of the things I like to do with this mill scale is when I go to open the door, I actually like to make sure the firebox door is shut. So if the firebox door is shut, now when I open this, it won't suck the ash from the firebox onto the grate, all right? I found that out over time, that if you kind of shut that door, get your product in there, you won't suck some of that ash on. So we'll take these nice pork St. Louis cut ribs, place them right down here. Lay them nice and neat in there. As you can see, as I moved them, not a lot of rub fell off because it has that nice stickiness to it from the gold. So I like to have a water pan on top of the heat diffuser right here. One thing I think that helps with, it also helps with like kind of mellowing the heat out as it comes up from the firebox over the pork ribs. So we'll shut this door back down. You can see the St. Louis ribs are gonna be in there smoking. We're gonna get like a good 2 hours to start building some bark. We'll spritz it once we start getting into it every half hour, 45 minutes, hour. But we'll come back to this after we get into it. So we're cooking our St. Louis pork ribs on the mill scale. Throughout the cook, I do like to give it a little spritz. In here is like little apple cider, and you can add anything you want to the spritz itself. I really like to do something simple. The main part of the spritz is that we're trying to get moisture on the meat itself, so that as it cooks, the smoke adheres to the meat. So smoke likes to adhere to moisture. So basically what we do is we'll pop this open, we'll give it a little spritz, and then we'll just drop the top back down. And we tend to do that spritz. I usually let the ribs get in the smoker for about an hour so that rub can really just start to set. And then I'll start spritzing roughly every 30 to 45 minutes throughout the cook as I'm adding logs and hanging out around the smoker itself. I'll give it a little spritz throughout just to help a little bit build another layer of flavor. That's why I use apple cider vinegar and not straight water, and also to get that smoke to adhere and really stick to the St. Louis pork ribs. We've given these St. Louis cut ribs about 4 hours in the mill scale. We're gonna open them up, we're gonna take them out. This type of rib, because I like to do it simple and easy when you're just kind of cooking for your family or at home, I didn't do any type of wrap and type of competition type rib. I just let them smoke straight through until they were finished in the mill scale. So we'll open this thing up and see the nice, beautiful mahogany color. We'll pull this open. You can see those beautiful ribs in there. So I'll grab this one here. We'll take it out. So as you can see, they've cooked down nicely. They got a little bit of about like a quarter inch down on the bones. That's how you kind of know it's finished. You know, you can start to pull these bones apart a little bit here where they come out. But we got this nice, beautiful mahogany color with all that nice rub on it. can take like a nice knife. We'll go right between the middle one, right down. You'll see how we have this nice beautiful rib, nice pink smoke ring on the outside. Nice beautiful set of St. Louis style ribs. For more recipes and tips, you can follow us at lilliesq.com.